And pineapple growers are hoping that a Senate inquiry will stop more foreign imports. The $80 million industry says a dangerous disease could be brought in with Malaysian produce, and it believes the National Biosecurity Authority is underestimating the threat. From Central Queensland, Marlena Wapp reports.
The spring harvest is in full swing. But with the countdown now on to the arrival of more foreign pineapple imports, the pressure is on to pick the best.
Today we're selective picking. Spring fruit is typically the hardest fruit of the year we've got to pick. The winter sun doesn't spend as much time in the sky, so we end up with one side of the patch generally ripens a lot earlier than the other. So that leaves us with the boys picking more on their right-hand side than they would on their left.
On the central Queensland coast in Yeppoon, Ben Clifton left a job teaching physical education to take up the physical challenges of running a farm. He's one of the younger growers.
The Yeppoon pineapple industry is a really young demographic. We're probably averaging early to mid-30s in our age group, whereas when I first joined the industry, the average age was looking in mid-60s.
But hopeful newcomers are concerned their industry will be tainted by increased imports.
Well, the quality of the Australian grown fruit is a result of the work done by the Australian government and their regulatory bodies. They provide us with the guidelines that we can use to grow fruit. When they import fruit, they throw their ability to control those guidelines out the window.
I'm not too sure there's a lot of common sense being used. I mean, we grow enough pineapples in Queensland to supply the demand for the Australian market. I'm not too sure why they need to bring pineapples in from Malaysia, for one, and secondly, why they would want to risk ruining our industry by importing diseases which we haven't got here now.
From the fields to the packing sheds, there's a concerted push to overturn the decision.
Quite honestly, it beggars belief. I can't believe that they've actually made that decision, because they have been given ample knowledge from experienced people to say don't do it.
The company Tropical Pines, which is based in Yeppoon, churns out about half of the country's fresh pineapples. It fears more Asian imports could carry a deadly disease known as Dickia.
The plants just totally collapse. The fruit totally collapses. But the worst part about it is that it can be present in a latent form which is undetectable.
Tropical Pines Chief Executive Derek Lightfoot and agronomist Cole Scott say Dickia has had devastating effects in Hawaii, Central America and in Malaysia, where there have been crop losses of up to 40%.
If we lose 40% of our production, we lose 100% of our growers. It's as simple as that.
Just west of Yeppoon, Cole Stevens and his son Nathan plant about 1.5 million pineapples each year.
We've invested a lot of money into our businesses, and I mean, the chance of one of these diseases getting into these diseases getting into Australia just could simply just ruin our business.
Authorities have identified potential problems with imports, but say protection measures can be put in place.
A very high proportion of pineapples that might be infected with Dickia or fruit collapse will exhibit those symptoms prior to harvest, and a small proportion that are infected will exhibit latent bacterial presence, and it's through our inspection regime that we will eliminate a proportion of those as well.
But the industry argues that a key part of the research was flawed.
When we looked very carefully at the risk assessment that's undertaken by DAF Biosecurity, it became very clear that it's quite an unusual risk assessment. And so we looked at the detail of that and noticed that there seems to be an extremely heavy bias to an outcome of negligible or very low risk.
The biosecurity watchdog disagrees.
When we're using the risk matrix and we apply it for all risk assessment that we do for pests and diseases or commodities coming into Australia, is make sure that we're ground truthing that information on a daily basis. We collect information at the border, we collect information from our exporting countries, we collect information from industry as well.
The Senate inquiry looking into the matter has requested an independent review into risk assessments. It's asked the biosecurity watchdog to delay its final decision until after the inquiry wraps up at the end of the month. Growers are pinning their hopes on that investigation.
They need to make sure that this disease cannot be imported into Australia. The disease is the most important thing. It does not exist in Australia. It cannot exist in Australia, otherwise there is no Australian pineapple industry.